My dear friends, today we're diving deep into a topic that resonates with so many people as they age. 6 psychological reasons you start avoiding people. More as you age, and why it's completely normal. As we grow older, it's not uncommon to feel more drawn to solitude and less inclined to engage with others, especially in social settings where we once thrived. This shift is often a natural part of the aging process, rooted in psychological and emotional changes that are anything but negative. If you've noticed yourself retreating from large social gatherings, or perhaps avoiding interactions with certain individuals, know that it's perfectly okay. In this video, we'll explore 6 psychological factors that contribute to this change in behavior, explaining why this distancing doesn't stem from bitterness or resentment, but rather from wisdom, gained over a lifetime. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer understanding of these internal shifts, and maybe even a newfound sense of peace with your choices. Let's start with the first reason why you may find yourself avoiding people more as you age: the burden of past betrayals. Reason 1. The weight of past betrayals. As we journey through life, we experience more than just joyful moments. We also accumulate emotional scars. Some of these scars come from small quarrels or misunderstandings, while others result from profound breaches of trust or betrayal. As we age, we become more attuned to these past wounds. The pain they caused is no longer something we can easily brush off. These old wounds can resurface with remarkable clarity, reminding us of the times we felt vulnerable and hurt. This is especially true as you begin to grow older and find yourself reevaluating relationships. You might realize that not everyone is deserving of your time, energy, or emotional investment. For example, take Sarah, a 78-year-old woman who had always been the life of every party. She used to invite friends over for weekly dinners, and her home was a hub of activity. But over time, some of those relationships faded, particularly after a close friend betrayed her trust. Now Sarah prefers quieter moments spent alone, reflecting on the fact that peace of mind is far more valuable than keeping up appearances. As we age, we learn that our emotional well-being is precious. That realization can create a sort of emotional armor that shields us from the hurt we've previously experienced. This isn't a sign of weakness, but of growth. We become more discerning about who we let into our lives. This process of reflection and emotional guarding is what psychologists call relational fatigue, a condition where maintaining relationships starts to feel more draining than fulfilling. It's a natural part of getting older, and it's rooted in the wisdom that not everyone is worth the emotional investment. Reason 2. The desire for peace. Over small talk when you were younger, you may have enjoyed the hustle and bustle of social events, conversations filled with chatter, jokes, and the occasional bit of gossip. But as you grow older, your tolerance for shallow interactions diminishes. It's not that you dislike people, but you begin to value peace more than idle conversation. Let's consider John, a 74-year-old man who spent years working in a fast-paced environment. He was always surrounded by colleagues and friends, constantly chatting and exchanging stories. But now, John finds himself craving silence, a time for reflection, and meaningful conversations. He avoids large family gatherings because they often involve small talk that doesn't resonate with him anymore. Instead, he prefers quiet moments at home, sipping tea and reading a book, feeling that peace is far more rewarding than filling the air with meaningless words. This shift in priorities is completely normal. As we age, the need for validation fades, and what remains is a desire for authenticity in our interactions. The pressure to impress others falls away, and in its place emerges a hunger for genuine connections, conversations that matter. If these conversations are absent, many of us would rather retreat into solitude than engage in interactions that leave us feeling drained. This isn't isolation. It's self-preservation. Reason 3. The feeling of being misunderstood. There comes a point in life when you start to realize that the world around you has changed, and so have you. New technologies, shifting cultural norms, and evolving values may leave you feeling disconnected from the younger generation. Conversations that once felt meaningful now seem filled with misunderstandings or a lack of interest. You might find yourself struggling to relate to others in the way you once did. Consider Elizabeth, a 77-year-old woman who was once very close to her grandchildren. She loved sharing her stories and offering wisdom from her own experiences. However, over time, her grandchildren began to tune out. Their conversations revolved around topics that felt foreign to her, and her stories seemed irrelevant to them. Elizabeth began to withdraw, feeling misunderstood. This isn't a case of disconnection on her part, but rather a sign that her lived experience no longer resonated with those around her. This feeling of being unheard or unseen is a common struggle for many older adults. When people don't take the time to truly listen, it can be emotionally invalidating. Over time, this emotional dismissal causes many to retreat from social settings altogether. And while this might seem like a lonely choice, it's often a protective measure. Finding peace in solitude, or with people who truly understand, becomes far more fulfilling than forcing interactions with those who are not emotionally present. Reason 4. The fear of being a burden. As we grow older, one of the most silent yet deeply distressing fears that often begins to take root is the fear of becoming a burden to others. This fear doesn't always present itself loudly or dramatically. It creeps in slowly, subtly shaping decisions and emotions. It's the quiet thought that maybe you're asking for too much, that your presence might interrupt someone's life, that your needs might be more than they can handle. It's the hesitation before calling a loved one, the reluctance to ask for help, and the decision to stay home rather than attend a family gathering, not because you don't want to go, but because you're afraid you'll become a source of stress or inconvenience. Take the example of Henry, an 82-year-old man who used to find immense joy in spending time with his children and grandchildren. Family dinners, Sunday outings, birthday celebrations. He cherished those moments deeply. But as time passed and his health began to decline, things changed. He started turning down invitations, not because he didn't care, but because he was haunted by the fear that his limitations would inconvenience others. He worried that needing help getting up the stairs, requiring frequent rest, or not being able to participate fully would make him a problem rather than a pleasure to be around. So, rather than risk feeling like a burden, Henry slowly withdrew from those he loved most, choosing solitude over the anxiety of being perceived as a weight on their shoulders. This fear isn't rooted in arrogance or stubborn pride. It's born out of self-respect, dignity, and a genuine desire not to interfere in the lives of others. It's the deep human instinct to protect the people we love from hardship, even if that means distancing ourselves. For many older adults, this mindset becomes a silent struggle, and without open conversations or reassurance, it can lead to painful isolation. But here's the reality we often forget. The people who love you don't see you as a burden. They see you as a blessing. They care not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. Your presence in their lives brings richness, stories, wisdom, and love. Support is not something they resent. It's something they offer gladly, often without a second thought, because your well-being matters to them. In truth, connection isn't measured by how much you can contribute physically or emotionally. It's about sharing life, simply being there for one another in any way possible. If you've ever found yourself feeling like a burden, know this: you're not alone, and your feelings are completely valid. But also remember that love is not transactional. You don't have to earn your place in anyone's life. Sometimes, just your smile, your voice, or your quiet presence is enough to brighten someone's day. Your worth isn't defined by what you can do, but by who you are. Reason 5. The fading of old relationships. Not all relationships come to a dramatic or bitter end. Sometimes they simply drift apart, almost imperceptibly, like a soft tide retreating from the shore. As we journey through life, especially into our later years, priorities evolve, circumstances change, and the people who once occupied such a significant place in our hearts and daily lives may slowly begin to drift into the background. This gentle distancing isn't always accompanied by hurt feelings or arguments. It often happens so subtly that we only realize it in moments of quiet reflection. Yet, despite its peacefulness, this slow fading can still leave behind a lingering sense of sadness, a quiet ache for something that once was. Consider Nancy, a 79-year-old woman who once shared an unbreakable bond with her childhood friend. They were inseparable through their youth and adulthood, spending countless afternoons laughing together, sharing their hopes, dreams, and even their fears. Their connection felt timeless, immune to the wear of years. But as life unfolded, with its unexpected turns and changes, Nancy began to notice that the friendship wasn't as effortless as it once was. Their interests, once so perfectly aligned, started to diverge. The conversations that once flowed easily became strained, filled with long silences and polite exchanges rather than deep understanding. It wasn't because either of them cared less. It was simply that life had taken them in different directions. The deep bond that once tethered them together had quietly loosened its grip. This experience is something many people face as they grow older, and it's important to understand that the fading of a relationship doesn't necessarily indicate failure, neglect, or lack of love. Rather, it often reflects the natural evolution of our lives. As we age, we begin to recognize that time is precious. We become more selective about where and with whom we invest our energy. It's no longer about maintaining a large network of acquaintances, but nurturing a few meaningful, enriching connections that truly bring joy and comfort to our lives. Letting go of old relationships can feel bittersweet. On one hand, there is the pain of acknowledging that a part of your past is slipping away. On the other hand, there is wisdom in recognizing that growth sometimes requires us to release what no longer fits. It's a delicate balance of honoring what those relationships once meant, while understanding that it's okay to move forward without guilt or resentment. Moreover, the fading of some relationships often opens the door to new ones. Life constantly offers opportunities to meet people who align with who you are now, not just who you were years or decades ago. And these new connections can bring fresh energy, perspectives, and joy into your life in ways you might not expect. If you find yourself mourning the slow disappearance of certain friendships or feeling a sense of loss, know that it's a natural, human emotion. It's perfectly valid to miss what once was. But also know that your journey isn't defined by the people who walk beside you for only part of the way. Every connection, whether it lasts a moment or a lifetime, has its value. Embrace the memories, cherish the lessons, and stay open to the beautiful possibilities that still lie ahead. Reason 6. The embrace of solitude. Lastly, the reason you might find yourself avoiding people as you age is that you've come to appreciate solitude. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's the intentional decision to spend time with yourself, to reflect, recharge, and grow. The older we get, the more we realize that solitude can be a profound source of joy and clarity. Consider James, a 77-year-old man who used to attend every family event, social gathering, and community function. But in recent years, he's found peace in staying home. He enjoys the quiet of his own company, the time spent reading, gardening, or simply reflecting on life. For James, solitude is no longer something to avoid. It's a space for inner growth and reflection. This embrace of solitude is something many older adults experience as they age. It's not about avoiding people out of bitterness or resentment, but rather finding strength in spending time alone. As we age, we begin to understand that the richness of life isn't determined by the number of people around us. It's determined by the depth of our relationships, the quality of our time, and the peace we find in solitude. As we conclude, it's clear that the reasons behind distancing yourself from others are not signs of weakness or isolation, but rather reflections of the wisdom gained through a lifetime of experiences. Whether it's the scars from past betrayals, the need for peaceful solitude, or the simple desire for more meaningful connections, These changes are a natural part of the aging process. If you found this video insightful, please comment number 6 below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more thought-provoking content. And remember, as you grow older, it's okay to embrace solitude, protect your peace, and be discerning about who you let into your life. You've earned that right.